Hello everyone, I'm Apasun and today we are going to discuss about the audit principles. So the principle often require auditors to behave in a way that seem foreign to those new to the audit process. Understanding these principles will better prepare you for and react to the audit. The first is independence. So professional standard require that the audit function independent. Audit independence generally refer to reporting, relationship, and communication channel and grant the auditors department unrestricted access to the board via direct communication channel. Given that a auditor perform an important and sometimes sensitive function on behalf of a board, audit independence is intended to ensure that audit is free from interference in all the aspect of his work. So the concept of audit independence can sometimes come up during the audit. For example, the internal audit department may determine that the SAP audit is warranted. In particular, he may to review new functionality currently being configured, and he may wish to conduct that review just before a critical deadline. The SAP project manager may object to the time or the scope of the review, even the extent of escalation and concern, all the way up to the CIO, that is Chief Information Officer. Even in an organization where the CIO has the higher title than the head of the audit group, the CIO dictates neither when the audit occurs nor what information the auditor has access to. Most auditor would be reasonable with such request, and if the request did not affect the ability to meet the audit objective, the auditor would likely change and at least the timing of review. If auditor for whatever reason does not want to change the audit, he is in no mean obligate to do what CIO request or even what CEO request for that matter. The next is objectivity. Professional standard also require each auditor to be objective. Objectivity is different from independence in that whereas independence is associated with the audit function in general, objectivity is applied to individual auditor. An auditor working objectively is free from bias and is impartial in fact, appearing to the outside outcome. His professional judgment is not influenced or impaired, and he is not in position where his judgment could be influenced or impaired. This last point is important because a conflict of interest can raise even if no unethical or improper behavior occur, and conflict of interest that could affect objectivity must be fully disclosed. Seeking auditor advice during an SAP system implementation or upgrade is common practice and can benefit the implementation team by helping ensuring audit concerns are addressed before the system go live. Auditor involved as a part of an implementation has the potential to impair the auditor's objectivity. However, so auditors are often conscious as to which specific level of involvement. And as an example, an auditor who was involved in the designing or configuring the SAP ERP financial solution of SAP would be prohibited from later auditing that particular solution. The next is professional speculation. Have you ever felt that no matter how many years you have worked with an auditor and how forthcoming you have been in the previous auditor, you just cannot seem to get the audit to trust what you are saying? The reality is, per audit standard, he cannot trust you without additional evidences. Auditors are required to operate in a model for professional speculation, which is a manner of operating effectively. Professional speculation suggests that an auditor cannot merely trust what someone says and must gather additional evidence to support what he has been told. Especially auditors must operate in a natural position on a scale where trust is one end and distrust is another. As such, the auditor belief should not influence the outcome. So, audit evidence must stand on its own and support the conclusion of the audit. And the last is evidence. The concept of evidence is proved to be problematic in many organizations. For audit purpose, evidence must stand on its own, meaning that the second independent auditor looks at the same information could come to similar conclusion regarding the test results. To some extent, evidence requirements are part of topic of uh, professional specialism discussed previously. In several years following the US shocks, some companies were shocked when their external auditor issues significant deficiencies merely because the company were not able to show the evidence of signed documents. Even though they perform related reviews, some auditors went to step further by declaring if you cannot prove it, it did not happen. Obviously, this is a little extreme, but the reality is this: if you don't have sufficient evidence to prove it, an auditor cannot independently attest that it happened. So this is what we are having as an principle of audit. Thank you for joining.